My guest at this time is a WWE Hall of Famer and six-time WWE World Champion. It is Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold, thank you so much for taking the time here today.
Absolutely, man. Excited to talk about this.
Absolutely. The great people over at Tide, they were kind enough to set up this interview here today, so I'd like to start right there. Talk to me about Tide and this hashtag Turn to Cold campaign that you're a part of here.
It's the Turn to Cold campaign to get people to wash their laundry in cold water, which, for FYI, I've been doing it my whole life, so I was an easy convert. And my mother from back in the day one, has always used Tide, so it was a no-brainer when they pitched this thing to me with the talent involved. A very fun shoot, working with Ice-T, Vanilla Ice, and Mr. T. It's kind of a no-brainer for Stone Cold to be in there as well. And the whole, the bottom line is, I've always washed my stuff in cold water. I'm a T-shirt guy and just a guy's guy. So I've been doing this for years, but now we're just trying to get people into it, prolong the life of your clothes, cut back on your energy bill, and help the environment. So I think that's a pretty easy sell. So I'm all on board.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? When they first asked me to do this campaign, I told my agent, I said, really? They want me in a Tide commercial? I said, man, I'm a little heavy right now. And the Tide came back and said, hey, we can protect Steve. We'll shoot around him. You're the first guy I told you the inside scoop too.
Well, I appreciate the scoop here, Steve. I mean, you've taken great care of yourself. I'm surprised to hear you make a comment like that.
Well, no, I dieted down to 230 when I was filming Straight Up Steve Austin. But right when Tide contacted me, I'm like, oh, man, I was about 265 and, drinking Broken Skull IPA. So I've tuned up since, and I was just proud that they asked me to do the spot because it was a lot of fun and very high profile. And, we shot this thing over a year ago. And so to finally get this thing released, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And I will say, for good luck, I've got my bottle of Broken Skull IPA right here sitting next to me right now. I'm a big fan.
You're the man.
Thank you very much, brother. And that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you. So you infamously had like a ton of beer bashes there in the ring. You get covered in beer and all that. I'm guessing you're taking this to the laundry to use to Tide to clean all the beer out of your clothes after those bashes, yeah?
Well, yeah, after the bashes, but as I drink beer at the house, I'm not so sloppy, because the beer bashes are the show business aspect of Stone Cold Steve Austin doing something in the WWE ring. So I'm actually sipping them quite efficiently when I'm here at the house.
Okay, good to know. Well, if you don't mind, I have a couple other non-Tide related questions for you here, Steve. Well, I've got you, if that's okay.
I got some answers.
Wonderful. Well, first thing, everybody's loving these Broken Skull sessions you're doing. This Randy Orton one was killer. What is the status of your podcast? You see it coming back, or are you going to stick to doing this and the Broken Skull sessions?
I've really been enjoying the Broken Skull sessions just because I'm doing one a month. And we tape them whenever, a window of opportunity lines up and, we get a guest that we're looking for. The weekly podcast kind of started, kind of just getting a little bit in the way and became a little overbearing. So I just opted out. And when WWE approached me with these Broken Skull sessions, I figured, I'd kind of trade in the microphone just to be, able to be seen on their streaming service. And now with WWE Network going to Peacock, just a different platform. So it's a visual platform as well as an audio platform. And I just figured it's kind of more like trading jobs. And anytime you do one of these things, man, I have a team that works with me finally on these. The podcast was just me by myself turning the show into a producer who put the commercials in. So I get a little help with research and to try to cover a 20 or 30 year career with some of these cats, there's a lot that goes into that. So it's very time consuming. The show might last an hour and 40 minutes or whatever each episode is, but there's a ton of research and prep that goes into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and we're heading into WrestleMania here. Obviously, you have been responsible for so many amazing WrestleMania moments. What's your personal excitement level like for this year's big show?
Oh, just excited for the fact that they're finally going to have some people in there, and I know that the guys and girls down there are going to be excited about having people to work for, and I hope those fans go crazy and give them all the noise that they can, because I'm sure the fans are anxious to cheer as well as the wrestlers are to be cheered. So I just think it's a great opportunity. Hopefully things are, continue to loosen up from COVID, but I'm excited about it. Very excited.
Yeah, and are there any particular matches that have your attention this year? Anything you're really looking forward to on the card?
Well, yeah, just as far as a matchup goes, I mean, Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre could be an instant classic. Drew McIntyre has been amazing as champion. Bobby Lashley, man, I was watching his work a couple of months ago, and him as a champion as well. He's doing his best work right now. His intensity is off the charts, and I'm
Yeah.
like, he's been around for such a long time, and he's always done good work. But it just seems now it's at another level. So that could be a very exciting match between two really big, strong guys who both guys are body guys, but both guys are workers as well. And you don't always have that. So you got these two tremendous physiques that are also badass workers. So that could be a killer match.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously everybody loves the new iteration of Roman Reigns. I mean, it really makes you salivate to think about you and him if you'd have been in the same time frame there, being able to work together. When you see a guy like Roman doing what he's doing right now, does it make you wish the same thing, that you'd been able to do some business with Roman when you were still in the
Um,
ring?
yeah, and there's a lot of guys I wish I would have got a chance to do business with, but there's generational gaps. But yeah, you always have those fantasy matchups, and you see what a guy's doing. Like, yeah, I could have done something with that guy, and we could have made something really memorable. I think he's doing great work. He he's a great performer. Sometimes he's a little underrated. I think the guy's phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. And this year's WrestleMania really doesn't have a whole lot of part timers on it. It's a lot of guys that have worked throughout the calendar year. I don't know. Did they reach out to you about doing anything at WrestleMania this year, Steve? I know you've played down the idea of an in ring return many times.
No, yeah, they didn't reach out to me this year. I think they got their hands full doing what they're doing, and I think it only makes sense for me to come back. Maybe in Texas or LA or something like that. When is that next WrestleMania? I'm not even sure.
You're going back to Dallas, I think, in 2 years.
Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great to go back to Dallas. So we'll see what happens there. But I'm fine sitting at the house watching this one. We've had we've been trying to move out of LA and move permanently over here to Nevada. So we've had a ton of stuff going on. So I'll be watching. But yeah, I'm okay not being there.
What do you think about just today? The news broke. Undertaker broke the news to Kane that he's going to be going into the WWE Hall of Fame. How do you feel about him joining you in that hallowed hall?
Who, Kane?
Yeah, Kane.
Jesus, are you kidding me? I mean, it's about time, but he's been in the ring a couple of times. No surprise. One of the greatest gimmicks of all time, one of the greatest characters, I should say, along with the Undertaker. We've all known that. But Kane has had an absolutely phenomenal career, and all the transitions he made with that. I had him on Broken Skull Sessions, and we had a blast. And when you see this monster of a man in this mask and red and black suit, he can terrorize you. And then when you just meet Glenn Jacobs, the man, he in the locker room, all the boys are messing around, wasting time as we do before a show. Glenn's the guy over there reading a book. He's so well read, he's so intelligent, and such a gentleman. You would be so surprised to know the man versus the character. So a great body of work and very, very well deserved.
Yeah, and one of the last things here I'd like to ask you, man. Obviously, Steve, I was talking to a couple of my friends about you just before we connected, and they were all like, this is a name that everybody of our generation knows. Everybody knows you, Steve, right? And you were so, the biggest star of the Monday Night War era. Have you had a chance to check out AEW and the latest competition going on right now? What do you think of this new entity trying to compete with WWE?
Man, I love it. I think it's competition by proxy, just because they're wrestling, WWE's wrestling, but I don't think they're directly trying to compete. But in essence, they are. So I love it because it gives more people within the industry jobs, gives more people a chance to work, and it makes WWE, it forces them to push the envelope rather than just sit back and just push out content. So now, competition makes everybody better. I'll bottom line it like that without going into minutia and details. Well, I mean, you would agree with me on that, right?
Oh, absolutely, man. Competition, everybody gets paid more. Everybody gets to put more eyeballs on pro wrestling in general. And then the indies, of course, they benefit from all the attention.
And the product is better because you're forced. Hey, man, what are these cats doing over here? Doing some pretty good stuff. Well, what are we doing? We need to up it a little bit. So, yeah, it's that checks and balances. I remember when we put WCW out of business, I remember going up to Vince one time. I said, man, was it our mission to put them out of business? They kicked our ass for 2 years, but I didn't know, that was the mission. We just wanted to win the ratings award. And of course, he ends up buying them for pennies on the dollar or whatever the deal was. But, that's the genius of Vince McMahon. But to answer your question, AEW is a good thing. It's a good thing for everybody, including WWE.
So wait, real quick, what did Vince say? Did Vince tell you that the goal was to put the competition out of business?
I don't know what kind of answer he gave me. It was so long ago, but it was like when I used to ask him, I said, man, when you put all these guys out of business, and he goes, Steve, I didn't put everybody out of business. They simply didn't have the foresight or the vision, and he goes on and on and on. It's one of those Vince-isms, the master of the Jedi mind tricks. But, Vince is a super interesting guy. You should talk to him one of these days. But I have so much respect and love for that guy. It's unbelievable.
Here, you tell Vince to talk to me, and we'll make it happen, Steve. I don't unfortunately have his.
I hear you. Hey, he don't even take my phone calls, but I'll tell you, back when I was working on top, when I called Vince, that phone didn't ring a half time before he picked it up. Now, I'll send him a text message and I'll get an answer back in a couple of days. So times have changed for me too, buddy.
Well, times have changed, but Tide has not changed, right? We'll take it back to the beginning, right? Still great product. Turn too cold. Hashtag turn too cold. Anything lastly here you want to share with everybody? Anything you want to plug, promote, put over, anything like that, Steve?
No, man. I mean, my Broken Skull IPA continues to grow. We're in 23 states, just made Japan. I'm a brand ambassador for Kawasaki Motorsports, proud of that relationship, and I'm proud of Broken Skull Sessions and my crew that helps me crank those things out. And we'll see if we get another episode of Straight Up Steve Austin. And to take it back to Tide, my mother, as I grew up, we've used Tide my entire life. So for Tide to ask me to be a part of a cold water spot, I love it. Use Tide and use cold water.
Cool. Thank you so much, Steve.
And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so.